Welcome to the Game Sense Football Podcast. My name is Ewan, and with me, as usual, is Nas.
Hello.
Hello, Nas. Okay, in today's episode, we take a look once again at a couple more Golden Generation teams. This time, it's going to be the English team between 2002 to 2010, around there, and Spain between 2008 to 2012. So stay tuned for this. And if you enjoy watching our content, do consider subscribing to our podcast. Thank you for your support. Remember to also check us out on Instagram at GameSenseFootball. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, do remember that we are also on YouTube if you prefer that platform. Likewise, the opposite is also true.
Yes.
So Nas, anything interesting that went on in the footballing world this week for you?
So this weekend, a lot of cup competitions in club football around Europe. What caught my eye was in England in the FA Cup, and I'm not gonna speak about Man United beating Arsenal, not yet at least. But what did catch my eye is a follow up from what I spoke about last time when I mentioned Everton against Peterborough. If you remember, I said that fixture had the potential to make history because Peterborough have a player called Tyler Young.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't happen, right?
Yes. He's Ashley Young's son, and it
Yes.
didn't happen. So Everton versus Peterborough, they were both on the bench. Everton score in the first half, I think. Ashley Young comes on, but Tyler Young does not because Peterborough are chasing the game. Everton win 2-0 eventually. Like the second goal comes in like the 8th minute of injury time in the second half. So the Peterborough manager, he was asked after the game, like, why didn't you give the guy's son a minute, to make history? And he was like, I'm chasing the game. What do you? I can't, sentiment can't be sentimental, right?
Yeah.
And I saw the quote. I was like, yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a bit wasted. There's no, you don't, the story isn't there, right? But do you know who the Peterborough manager is?
No. Wait, I think I
Darren
do. I should
Ferguson.
know. Yes.
Darren
Darren
Ferguson. So
Ferguson.
here I'm thinking, if there's anybody in football who is like, who is not qualified to say, I don't want to be sentimental and let the father-son reunion happen on the pitch, it should be Darren Ferguson, who has a Premier League winners medal, by the way, because
Yeah,
his
he
father
does.
is a certain Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yes, that's right. Ah, man.
Yeah.
But you know what? Yeah, football is actually entertainment, right?
Mm.
He should have done it
Should have done it. Yeah.
for
I
the
mean,
entertainment value.
imagine if in the last minute Tyler Young is through on goal, can score the equalizer for historic goal, and Ashley Young runs back and like brings his son down for a professional foul. Amazing.
Whew.
Yeah.
Wow, that would
And
be
he
yeah,
denied
that
us
would
that
be.
story.
I think we should move on to the main part
Mm.
of the episode. Or do you want to talk a little bit about Man United?
I mean, since you are wearing your Man United jersey,
I am.
uh,
And cap, by the way.
and cap, oh, very nice black on black. Oh,
Yes.
can I say
Very
I
nice.
hate that
Yes.
Arsenal full white jersey, the white on white jersey.
So I don't hate it, but
Mm.
the first thing that came to my mind was kind of lazy design, right?
It's supposedly like a what's the word, like not charity but a public awareness thing. So there's no red on the jersey, so on the shirt, because they want to be against knife crime or something in London. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
That aside, United played really well, and it was nice to see Joshua Zirkzee get the winner, you know,
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
he's had a difficult spell in the past few weeks.
Yes.
So
All right. Cool. Maybe we can find some opportunity to talk more about this later. Uh, right now, I think we shall go into our golden generations. First team, Spain, 2008 to 2012.
yeah. So Spain 2008 to 2012, I think of all the golden generations that we have covered and will cover, this might be the most golden in more ways than one.
Very golden. And
So
in their achievements as well.
yeah, But let's not jump ahead of ourselves yet. So, when
Mm-hmm.
we planned this episode and we picked Spain, the most obvious era was this 2008 to 2012, and it's shorter
Mm-hmm.
than than some of the other golden generation eras that we've done in the past. But it spans 4 years, but in these 4 years, they've won everything. It started in Euro 2008, but let's go back one tournament and look at World Cup 2006, where Spain
Mm.
be knocked out in the round of 16. They progressed out of the group. They beat Saudi Arabia, Ukraine, and Tunisia. 3 wins, but kind of shit still. And
I mean, not great teams.
yeah, I know exactly. Then they lose to France. And this World Cup 2006 was the last tournament for
Mm-hmm.
Raul, Jose Antonio Reyes, Michel Salgado, and Luis Garcia. Solid players who were playing for Spain for a very, very long time. Then Euro
Mm.
2008 comes in, okay? And still same manager as before, Luis Aragones, but this tournament they introduced David Silva and Santi Cazorla
Mm.
and a few other players. But those are the two
Ah.
big ones. They beat Russia, Sweden, and Greece in the group. Greece are the defending champions from 2004. Then
Oh
in the
yeah.
knockouts, beat Italy, Russia again, Germany in the final. David Villa is the top scorer as well. In the
Yes.
team of the tournament, 23 players, 9 of them come from Spain, and Xavi is named best player. Immediately following that, that is the season where Guardiola leads Barca all the way to the Champions League final where they beat United. And that team becomes the core of the Spain team. So that's
Mm.
Xavi, Iniesta, Puyol, you know. So World Cup 2010 comes along. Uh, Spain changes managers from Luis Aragones to Vicente del Bosque. This is where Gerard Piqué comes in. Juan Mata comes in. Busquets comes in. Pedro also come in. So a lot of new Barca blood.
And all very recognizable names.
Correct. And this is when Spain really kick on and be like super tiki taka tiki taka school has well and truly taken hold. The weird thing is they actually lose their first game in this tournament. They lose to
Interesting.
Switzerland. Yeah. But Spain lose to Switzerland, but they beat Honduras, they beat Chile. Then they go through the knockout stage, obviously win the tournament. They don't concede a single goal in the knockout stage, just retain possession all the way.
Wow.
They David Villa, top scorer again, uh, and 5 of 11 players in in the FIFA team of the tournament are from Spain. So after I realize I'm also speaking about club football, but I feel it's quite relevant here. But so after the 2010 World Cup, the next season, Barca win the Champions League again beating United in the final, and again the Barca squad obviously is providing so many players to the Spain squad, and the Barca play style has been adopted by Spain essentially.
Mm.
So 2010 they win the World Cup, 2010-11 Barca win the Champions League. 2011 in that summer, Spain also win the UEFA Under 21 championships. So this is like they're winning everything.
It's
Uh,
just sweeping everything
yeah,
up.
they're sweeping everything.
Yeah.
Euro 2012 comes along, and the main player that comes in is Jordi Alba. And Jordi Alba actually makes a big
Oh.
difference to Spain because it gives Spain a lot of attacking thrust down the left hand side because he plays
Mm.
left wing back, and the whole tiki taka system, which is already working well, now has another weapon. Spain win Euro 2012, smash Italy 4-0 in the final. Jordi Alba actually scores in the
Yep.
final. Yeah. So Fernando Torres is top scorer. 10 of 23 players in the team of the tournament are from Spain. Iniesta is the best player. They basically clean
Oof.
sweep everything from
Yeah.
2008 to 2013, from to 2012. In fact, they are FIFA Team of the Year from 2008 to 2013, and Team of the Year is whoever finishes the year top on in the FIFA rankings. So they are top for
Hmm.
5 years. Like objectively on any metric, best team in the world. It's hard to really explain how dominant Spain were. I would say good. There are some people who might not have liked the way Spain play. Some say it's a bit sterile and all, and that is actually the issue with what comes immediately after. And
Mm.
in because the next major tournament is World Cup 2014, and they crash out. First game they lose 5-1 to Holland, and they
Superman header,
Superman hitter. Yes.
Van Persie.
Van
Yes.
Persie, and also the one where Robin sits down Casillas, he fake shots, fake shots. 2014, horrendous showing for Spain, and they obviously won the Euros last year. But
Hmm.
from 2014 to last year, it's been very up, hit and miss. They've won a few Nations League and all, but that was basically the very, very, what's the word? Definite end of that golden era, that 4 year golden era. And
Yep.
again, some people might say 4 years is a bit short, but in that 4 years, they won everything. Totally, totally dominant. Whenever they didn't win, they didn't win a game, it was a shock. The tiki-taka school of play, the philosophy, basically changed football as we know it now. Now, so many players, so many teams, play out from the back, short passing, retain possession, when obviously that's not the only way to play, but that's seen now as the best way to play. High
Uh,
pressing, retain
um,
possession. Yeah.
yeah, I guess.
I'm not saying it is. And I would argue that unless your team is supremely talented and your coach knows what it is you're doing, you're not keeping the ball for the sake of keeping the ball, then it's good. Because but if you do anything wrong, it is detrimental. Like we talked
Yeah.
about like Southampton before, right?
Yeah. So the problem I have with Tiki Taka, like you mentioned, is a bit sterile.
Mm,
It's nice to see a beautiful sequence of passes here and there,
mm.
but for 90 minutes straight, that's kind of boring.
Yeah, no, you are right, and I think so. Tiki Taka worked for this golden generation
Yep.
for Spain and for Barca because again, largely the core was the same, right? The only difference was Barca had Messi, but Spain had
Mm.
the Real Madrid players to supplement it. Players
Yep.
like a
Yep.
Sergio Ramos, like a Xabi Alonso. So much so that that when Barca brought in Cesc Fabregas to sub in for Messi when he was injured or tired, that Spain basically played Fabregas in the Messi role anyway, in that false nine
Yeah.
role. Yeah,
False nine. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
It was very shocking to see Spain collapse so badly and so suddenly, you know, at the end of this golden generation because people didn't realize the end would come so quickly, right? Spain were one of the
Mm.
favorites for 2014. Then they lost 5-1 to in Holland. First game, 5-1. And but looking back, it's a bit like, yeah, you could see it happening because the difference was Xavi, Iker Casillas, Carlos Puyol, Fernando Torres, David Villa. Very, very important players in those four 4 years. But by 2014, every one of them was either much older, injured, or retired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And kind of getting to the end of their career peak. Yeah, I
correct.
remember, I mean, it was a good team that they had
Mm,
together with the same people. Quite a lot of them, Xavi, Iniesta, they were all already playing for the national team. So kind of like over the years, like you mentioned, a few new names, but very recognizable new names. So
mm,
like Piqué will join,
mm,
uh, Jordi Alba, etc. Right?
mm,
But I think the spine of that team, a lot of them were kind of getting along, getting on, sorry, with
mm,
age. By the time 2014 hit,
mm.
so I guess that really played a big part. And Fernando Torres, as we all know, forgot how to play football after he left Liverpool.
Exactly. Yeah. So Torres and David Villa, they were both basically lacking fitness and form. Xavi was getting
Mm.
old. Puyol was injured and not selected. So they lost a lot of leadership. They lost the energy to press as well. So they kept the ball
Yep.
whenever they lost the ball, gone. Like
Yeah.
like Holland just cut through them. So when we do our golden generations, we also like to talk about how the team sets up, right? And for
Yep.
Spain, very, very standard. 4-3-3.
4-3-3.
4-3-3.
Mm.
However, what's important to note is that in this period, Spain's 4-3-3 was more like a 4-2-3-1, where there's two deeper midfielders and one in front.
Mm.
And this actually caused a lot of friction internally because, again, like I said, so much of this team was modeled on and riding on the coattails, really, of the back of Barcelona's success, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Barcelona, their 4-3-3 has one deep midfielder and two in front. It's
Yep.
Busquets behind, Xavi and Iniesta in front. Those three like magic triangle, right? But for Spain, they also have Xabi Alonso.
Which is why.
So they change it. And in fact, Iniesta goes to the left wing.
Mm.
And this caused a lot of friction, like I said, internally. It worked. It worked. They still won everything in that span of time. But
The egos couldn't take it.
yeah, and again, obviously there was a lot of politics and strife between the Barcelona and Real players as time went on. Especially later on when Mourinho and Pep's rivalry became heated, with the eye gouging and all.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's hard to say that this golden generation was anything but successful because they won everything. What more could they have done? Like win the Confederations Cup. Who cares about the Confederations Cup? They won every major senior trophy on offer. They won two under 21 championships as well. But in terms of the golden generation, Spain definitely as golden as it gets.
As golden as it gets.
Yeah.
Have to agree. And this is definitely, I think, a no-brainer that,
Mm,
this golden generation definitely performed up to expectations. In fact, maybe even exceeding expectations by winning three major tournaments in a row.
So in a way, golden generation is almost an understatement.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite player from this era?
I've always been a fan of Santi Cazorla and David Silva for different reasons, but Iniesta is just magical. Yeah.
Yeah, I think unfortunately also Santi Cazorla, as good as he is,
Mm,
never really got a extended run in the
yep.
starting 11.
Yep.
Yeah. But
He
yeah, Iniesta, I mean, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer, I think.
mm,
Iniesta.
I mean,
Yeah.
as they had so many good players, but I think you realistically only say Iniesta, Xavi, or maybe, well, it's really one of those two, right? Unless you're a huge Liverpool fan, then you say Xabi Alonso or Torres.
My favorite player, one of my favorite players was David Villa, actually,
Mm,
because it's really exciting watching him.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, by no means the most talented in the team. He's not. But I like watching him, entertaining player to watch, and a lot of flair as well.
Yeah, flair and intelligence and because
And
like
he scores
yeah,
a lot. He's really accurate. His shot
yeah,
accuracy is high.
exactly. Like he has this
Yeah,
like curling lob shot which he hits from weird angles, and
yeah,
that shot became even more effective when they moved him to the wing.
yeah.
It's like a basketball player whose best angle is not in the center.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel that he is the better attacker compared to Torres in,
Mm,
in the team.
mm,
Yeah, just my personal view on it. Okay, so that's Spain for you. The golden generation between 2008 or 2008 to 2012.
mm.
And now we are heading for a break. And when we come back, our winners and losers for this week. So stay tuned. Welcome back. And right now, we are going to talk about our winners and losers for the past week.
Mm.
Nas, who's your winner and loser?
So, because you're wearing the United kit, I'll leave all the United
Mm-hmm.
stuff to you today.
Okay.
But my winner is your loser recently, Dani Olmo.
Ah, yes.
Dani
Finally, he
Olmo
gets to play.
exactly gets to play and uh, cleared to play, and he came on in the Spanish Super Cup final where Barca smashed Real Madrid. That was actually also a history-making game because that's the first time Barca have won back-to-back Clásicos, scoring at least 4 goals in each game. That's never happened for Barca before, and the last time it happened for Real was in the 1950s.
Wow. So
Yeah.
Barca doing really well on the pitch.
You can achieve a lot if you spend money without thinking.
without having the money. Yeah.
Hmm.
And who's your loser?
My loser is
Hmm.
Juan Bernabe. Do,
Okay.
do you know who Juan Bernabe is?
No, I don't know. Educate me, please.
So Juan Bernabe is okay. He was
Hmm.
the eagle handler for Lazio in Italy.
He's the
Okay.
eagle handler.
Yeah, so
So they've actually a real eagle
yes,
mascot thingy. Okay.
like at Crystal Palace and Benfica. Yeah, before the game, eagle flies around. Okay.
All right.
Lazio's
All right.
eagle is named Olympia. So he has been the
Okay.
eagle handler for like 15 years plus, I think, since
Mm-hmm.
20, at least 2010, maybe earlier, I'm not
Mm.
sure. So he was fired, okay?
Because
Because
uh
let me read the quote, okay? Due
okay.
to seriousness of his conduct, we and the historic symbol of the eagle, this is what Lazio was saying, can no longer be associated with a person who, with his behavior, has made the continuation of any relationship impossible.
That's saying a lot without saying anything.
Can you guess what he did?
Lewd acts with the eagle.
Fortunately, maybe unfortunately, depending on your views, Eagle not involved. But what happened was
Mm.
he posted pictures online of his he underwent surgery, okay, and he posted like
Mm-hmm.
before and after pictures or something. The issue was the pictures were very graphic, and the surgery was a penile prosthetic.
And he posted pictures of that,
Yes, of himself. Yes,
of a
he
prosthetic penis
his his prosthetic. Yes,
on him, or
on yeah
not
on
yet on
no,
him.
no on him, like he basically a dick pic.
Fake dick pic. The pic's real, the
Mm.
dick's fake.
I don't know exactly what the extent of the prosthetic, but basically yes. So my loser is Lazio's eagle handler got fired because he posted prosthetic dick pics.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yes,
Oh, that's so weird, man. Dude.
I know, best headline I've seen today.
Okay. Well, okay, so for my turn.
Yes.
So interesting.
Mm.
But I just have to highlight how good Alfie Bayindir
Mm. Mm.
was in the match between United and Arsenal.
Yes.
His reflexes so impressive. He was so fast. For a big guy, he looks
Mm.
like what Donnarumma kind of height.
Yeah.
He gets down so quickly. He moves so quickly, recovers so quickly.
Mm.
I mean, like, this is not a keeper that we know of. You know,
Mm.
I I know him from conceding that weird own goal in the Euros.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah, and also for not performing particularly well against
Spurs.
Spurs, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He basically United got knocked out of the League Cup because of Bayern there, but he was the one that got us through the FA Cup.
yeah,
Mm.
and definitely a big winner in my
Mm.
books for him. I think have to give credit where it's due. And loser
Mm.
of the week would I would say Kai Havertz, but
Oof.
not because he missed the penalty,
Okay.
but earlier in the game he
Mm.
had the whole altercation with was it Ugarte? He put his
Mm.
his hand
Yes.
around Ugate's neck,
On the
right?
neck. Yeah.
So typically it would be a red card
Yes.
if there was VAR.
If there was VAR.
As we know, at this stage of the FA Cup, there is no VAR.
Mm.
See, the thing is, if he had gotten sent off at that point, he wouldn't be there to miss the penalty at the end.
Correct.
What a loser.
Yeah, maybe.
Loser of the week. So on to England's
England.
golden generation. So if you're not listening from Singapore, in Singapore, England's really huge, right?
Mm.
A lot of the media focuses on English football. So, to us, England's a team that a lot of our friends support, and they've been quite shit, especially during this particular golden generation era, from around 2001, 2002
Mm.
till maybe about 2010.
Mm.
It's a whole decade actually.
Mm.
So some of the notable players from this period of time: David Beckham, Gary Neville, Phil Neville, Rio
Mm.
Ferdinand. I mean, a lot of United players, I guess. Wayne Rooney, but also a lot of lesser known players. But I think they're equally talented. Joko, for example. You have Ledley King, Sol Campbell, Jonathan Woodgate, really solid players
Mm.
making the core of this generation. But they kind of failed in terms of the big tournament achievements. Famously, they were knocked out of the quarterfinals for three tournaments in a row
Mm.
between in 2002 World Cup, 2004, and 2006.
Mm.
And in 2010, they were knocked out of the round of 16.
Mm.
So not really a golden performance. I think
They 2008 they didn't qualify, was it?
yes, and in 2008 they didn't qualify. That's right. So that was the McLaren,
Mm.
Steve McLaren
Umbrella.
team, the Wally with the Brawley
Yes.
thing. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate because I think some of these players they were really world class, right? So
Mm.
David Beckham, we all know, um, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, very 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 good players in their own right, but just couldn't gel in
Mm.
the middle of the
Mm.
park. And that's one of the very big issues, I think, that, why this team kind of failed.
Mm.
Because you have the manager at the time, Sven-Goran Eriksson, who insisted on playing Gerrard and Lampard together
Mm-hmm.
all the time, right? Even though they didn't really do very well together.
It didn't work,
And
yeah.
that kind of froze like Paul Scholes out a little bit, which it's unfortunate, right?
Mm.
As a United fan, of course, I would feel that it's a bit unjust for Paul Scholes to be shifted to the left wing just to make way for Lampard and Gerrard in the middle. This kind of insistence on the midfield partnership between Lampard and Gerrard kind of gave them a bit of a tactical imbalance,
Mm.
and that's it. The versatility, I think, it's also another issue from the managers. So Ericsson, Capello, they kind of insisted on playing 4-4-2,
Mm.
which is very old school, even during that time, I think.
That was the start of the whole transition towards more 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, right? Even if you
Yeah,
discount Spain, which I spoke about just now, that's when Jose Mourinho came to the Premier League and basically killed off every 4-4-2, 4-4-2 there.
yeah, exactly. And if you remember the names that I mentioned earlier in the team, there are a lot of midfielders
Mm.
that they could have played, not just Steven Gerrard, not just Frank Lampard. And
Yes.
this was actually a really good opportunity for them to actually test a formation that could pack your midfield a little bit
Mm.
more.
Mm.
So a 4-3-3 would have been perfect,
Yeah.
I think, for this team. And even I would dare say a three at the back formation would be good as well. Look at the number of defenders that they had
Yeah.
at their disposal. Yet, insisted on the 4-4-2. Rigid kind of tactic. It's not really used anymore these days by the top teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's quite telling. The other thing that kind of brought them down was a lot of pressure on the players.
Mm.
So this was a typical type of golden generation that suffered because of their reputation.
Mm.
So the English media is, relentless. It's known to be relentless, right? In their pressure of it's as if the media does not want the team to win.
Yep.
Strange, but true. And I think that's something that they kind of imploded under as well, the expectations.
Mm.
And not to mention, in the big tournaments, they kept getting knocked out of the quarterfinals on
Mm.
penalties as well.
Mm.
I believe 2004 and 2006, they were knocked out by Portugal both times on penalties.
2012 is a bit after the time frame you've set, but 2012 they also get knocked out on penalties against Italy
Mm.
with Pirlo doing the Panenka.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, but by 2012, a lot of these
Yes.
names,
Yeah.
they were kind of either, sunsetting
Mm.
their careers, or they had just, they would have retired already by then.
And they had stopped playing 4-4-2, but still couldn't win.
Yeah, still couldn't win,
Yeah.
exactly. So some players as well in big tournaments, they just couldn't replicate their club form.
Mm.
So players like I think we mentioned Lampard and
Mm.
Gerrard, very, very high profile, unable to click in midfield. Others like Michael Owen, after his initial burst into the scene,
Mm.
that 98 1998 goal against Argentina,
Argentina.
right?
Yeah,
Yep. And then he won the Ballon d'Or in 2001, I believe.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and things he couldn't really replicate that good form from there on. I think he kind of struggled with injuries a lot.
Mm.
Uh, very early on in his career already, Michael Owen. So that was something that kind of put a stop to the impact that he had on the team. And of course, David Beckham retired already by then. I think the mid 2000s to late 2000s, around there. I mean, not really retired, but not really part of the setup
Mm.
anymore. I think another reason for them not performing, and this is not really talked about a lot, is that during the 2000s,
Hmm.
that decade, there were a lot of golden generation-ish teams.
I guess
Like
you're right. Yes.
in 2002, there was still, R9 Ronaldo's Brazil.
Hmm.
There was still, and there was the Portugal golden generation of that decade, which was
Yes.
a pretty strong team. Knocked
The
them out twice.
the still at the back end of France as well.
Yeah,
The
France.
Zidane's
And
France team.
then yes, and then after that you had Spain coming on,
Hmm.
and then you had random like Italy performing really well in 2006 kind of team as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Yes.
I think along with all of that, the rivalries between the teams, there was a lot of internal strife
Mm.
as well. Clubs having, like feuds between like the Liverpool players, the United players,
Yeah.
and after that, everybody kind of hated the Chelsea players. And once Chelsea became, kind of top of the pack, right?
Mm.
So it's quite. I think it was quite.
Political.
Yeah. I would say political. I think that's maybe the word.
And England had a lot of talented players, but maybe not the tactically intelligent players. And like the players who people would say were tactically intelligent, a player like Michael Carrick didn't get used.
Hmm.
Right.
Yep, correct. So Michael Carrick's another one. Probably the closest you can get to a regista in the English
Mm.
team. Hardly ever used because I mean he's just not really an English hard running, long
Yeah.
ballish kind of guy.
He's not Gerrard or Lampard.
S- Yeah, exactly. And that's really a lot of what the technical setup was based on,
Mm.
a lot of the traditional English team qualities, right? The hard running, the long passing, long balls, um, physical game. And that's something that's not really modern. It's quite old school.
Yeah.
Paired with the 4-4-2 that Ericsson and Capello favored as well. In fact, interestingly, the worst manager of these three,
Mm.
between Ericsson, Capello, and McLaren.
Mm.
McLaren was the one who actually displayed the most tactical flexibility. He
Okay.
actually did experiment with 3-5-2, 4-3-3 during his time. But I think at the end of the day, he still kind of reverted back to 4-4-2 based on the kind of pressure that he had.
Mm. I remember playing in those years. You play like Pro Evo and all. You go to the
Mm,
England team, like it's amazing team, right? And then first thing you do, you change the formation. You don't play 4-4-2. You play 4-3-3. You play 4-2-3-1.
correct.
You put Gerrard like Gerrard or Lampard behind Rooney, and then two midfielders behind him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, the names were like luminary in a way, even better than all the Spanish names I said earlier. But they won nothing, less than nothing,
Yeah,
in a way.
I think the Spanish team, one of the less talked about qualities that they had was, the rivalry between Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Mm.
They could overcome that. I'm not saying
Yes,
they managed to put that aside, but they played in spite of
yes,
all of that.
correct.
Whereas for the English teams, I mean the very big, very very big issue was internal fighting, disagreements, cliques,
Mm.
and they just couldn't gel. The chemistry just wasn't there
Mm.
for all of them, and they depended a lot on individual moments of
Yes,
brilliance, right? So aforementioned Michael Owen. I mean, this was
yes,
before the generation, but
yeah.
very obvious moment
Mm.
is his solo effort in '98. David Beckham in
Greece.
2001. dragging them into the Euros with that last minute free kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of individual moments that you don't really that gloss over,
Yeah.
the team's
Rooney
failures.
in 2004, was it?
2004,
Yeah.
yes, his breakout tournament. I think he's got like a ton of goals, or 4 goals or something in the group
And then and
stages,
then and
which
then broke his foot, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
correct,
yeah.
correct.
Broke his foot, went to United, then came back,
In
hat trick on his debut
hat trick in the Champions League on his
against
debut.
Fenerbahce.
Yes.
It's quite ironic that we've paired Spain and England, and obviously,
Mm.
if you're listening, you'll say, "Yeah, you guys planned this to pair Spain and England, right?" And yeah, we did, to show one amazing more golden than golden generation, and
Yeah.
one team with at least probably better names on
Hmm.
paper who couldn't achieve anything, right?
Yep, yep, yep. I guess they're just living with a lot of regret right now, I suppose, with Rooney, Lampard, and Gerrard all also being kind of bad at managing teams.
Oh, yeah. I mean, has anybody from that England era been a good Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard, Gary Neville, Sol Campbell?
Oh God.
Yeah. Uh there's I'm sure there's more, but Gary Neville famously with Valencia. So bad he said
Yep,
he
yep.
never wants to manage again.
He doesn't
Uh
want
f-
to talk about it anymore, and
yeah.
he doesn't want to manage the team
Phil
anymore.
Neville might be the best manager in that generation.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's
which
kind of
is
sad.
Yeah. What's also interesting, I guess, is again England and Spain. Both of them now, Spain especially, won the
Mm.
Euros, won the Olympics, won a few, I think under 19 again. But England have been on the cusp of winning many things many times in the past, what, 6, 8 years. So it would be quite cool if of both of these teams now have a new golden generation concurrently, and then that forms a rivalry.
Hopefully England does well enough, I guess.
Mm,
Um, I'm not an England supporter, but I do, if they do well, at least it'll be nice for me to watch. It'll be good for
mm,
the neutrals. And Spain, yeah, Spain very exciting. I think we've waxed lyrical about them a lot already since the Euros till now. Players like Lamine Yamal,
Nico
Nico
Williams. Mm,
Williams, yeah, very very exciting prospects. Yep. So I guess we'll see. We'll see how England can push on from here again. But usually, I would say a lot of the expectations that are placed upon them are slightly too much, I believe.
mm.
And that probably hasn't changed. The English media kind of suck. So what do you think about our teams today? Do you like the Spain golden generation? Do you think England deserve to not win anything, or do you disagree with us?
Yeah.
Do you think England actually deserve to win something? I don't know. Do leave us your comments on wherever you're watching this. Could be
Mm,
YouTube, could be Spotify, hell, it could even be Apple Podcasts.
mm.
Yeah. But in any case, do remember to drop us a like, and also to check us out on Instagram at GameSense Football. And till next time, we shall see ya.
See you guys. Don't post penile implant pictures online.